Hey, so I wanted to have a conversation with you about this. Do you know what to do as far as your eating and taking care of your body, but you don't do it? I think nowadays we are so full of information. We watch this podcast, we watch this YouTube video, we listen to this doctor, we read this book, we go through this program. So we have a lot of information. We know what to do, we know what not to do. But we're in this cycle where we just keep doing what we are not supposed to do. We start and we start again and we start again and we keep failing. And I have been coaching people on how to do this, how to navigate this for a year and a half now, and I have learned a lot. And what I've found is that the amount of information that we have is paralyzing. We're listening to everybody else, and we literally get into, people talk about that fight or flight and freeze. We get into that freeze because we just don't know what to do. We don't know what the next step should be because we are chocked full of information. We just have too much information. And what's really cool is that the only information that we need is the instructions are already inside of us. All we have to do is hone in on that inner being, that inner clarity, because that's where the answer is for us. There are tons of stories out there. There's tons of research articles and doctors and tons of information, but that doesn't mean that's the answer for me. I had to get to a place where I listened to my body. And I couldn't hear my body whenever I was eating sugar and carbs. It was just too much noise. And I could read this book or read that book, but it was too much. It was paralyzing. And I've noticed as I've navigated this with coaching for the last year and a half is what I was doing was I was meeting with people for 30 minutes and I was adding to the noise. I was in that 30 minutes, I was pouring in as much information as I could to them. I was telling them all about the different stories that I've heard, the different coaches that I've talked to, the different clients that I've had, and my own personal experience. And they would, at the end of that 30 minutes, be full of information, but it was, like I said, paralyzing. And they would get this false sense of security. They would be like, okay, I got this. And they would go off on their own and then they would fall flat on their face. And so it became unethical for me to do these 30-minute sessions because it's really not about me giving out information. It's about results. It's about transformations. It's about people being set free. And I noticed that the people who stayed connected with me, that those were the people that were set free. Those were the people that were able to hone in on listening to themselves, listening to their inner voice. And I helped them practice that by staying connected, by staying tethered to them. Where I was able to say, remember what you said that whenever you ate this, that you felt much better, or remember what you said when you ate this, you felt horrible. And so I held that space. Like I stayed connected to them. And it wasn't me telling them what I thought. It was me reminding them what they discovered. Because I think everybody needs to do their own experiment. It doesn't need to be this little cookie cutter, follow this formula and do this, these directions, and then find your answer. No, your answer is within you. You are the one that has the instructions for this. And so I have changed my model. And I've realized that 30 minutes at a session is just a broken model. It just doesn't work. And I have written an 8-week system. And this system, it came about organically. It came about through looking at the clients that I was having, that it was working for them. And those are the ones that were staying connected. And so I've realized that 8 weeks is very important for them to be committed, and for them to stay connected with me. And, and I take you step by step. I literally hold your hand through this. And, I know that I have my master's in clinical counseling and that I've practiced as a therapist, but I recognize that this is not therapy. But what I've found that comes up is not about the eating. It's about their mindset, and it's about their self-worth. And so a lot of times that's more what we're working on. And if you look at it, it's kind of like having access to a therapist every day for 8 weeks. You're always able to reach out to me, to email me. And then we have these one-on-one sessions, through Zoom, where we're able to really, really dig in and really, really break through. What is it? Why are we self-sabotaging ourselves? Why are we continuing on this hamster wheel of this, ridiculousness when we know what to do, but we don't do it? And it's been amazing. It's been amazing watching the clients that I've had that have just broke free. They broke the mold. They jumped off the hamster wheel. And they are in control now. And they hear their voice. They hear their inner clarity, and that's what matters. It's not about hearing me. It's not about hearing Dr. So-and-so. It's not about watching that podcast. It's about knowing you did the experiment and you know what to do for yourself. And it also found that this works for, I have a lot of clients that don't necessarily eat carnivore. They have multiple different ways of eating, keto, or have a couple of clients who they've had to incorporate white rice into what they're eating. And so what we do is at the beginning, we really lay the foundation and we say, okay, I say, what are you hearing? What do you, if you had to put money on it, what would you say is something that you're supposed to eat? And what do you know you're not supposed to eat? And then we just go from there. And we adjust that mindset, because it's not just about food. This is absolutely about mindset as well. That's just as important of a component. And today is a big day for me. It's 2 years. 2 years. 2 years since I've had a psych medication. My last dose was on September 26th of 2019. And before that, before I started eating carnivore, I had debilitating mental illness. I had bipolar disorder that had turned into rapid cycling, and it consumed my life. I was actually out of work for 6 months, couldn't even function. And, some days I could get out of bed, some days I couldn't. I could not get out of bed. And then through the process, as some of you know my story, I discovered that I had multiple sclerosis. And I ended up not being able to walk, couldn't talk, had a delayed speech, slurred speech, and I had even more significant brain fog. It was so bad that it was to the point where I didn't even know what the point of living was. And I would have ended up in a psych ward or a nursing home. With the bipolar disorder and with the MS, it is no question. If I hadn't changed my eating, if I hadn't got rid of sugar and carbs, and changed this mindset, I would have ended up in the psych ward or the nursing home. But thankfully, I didn't. I started eating 50% animal meat and 50% animal fat, and I haven't stopped. It has been 2.5 years since I started eating this way, and I have continued healing. I mean, it has gone from better to better to better. I part of me wanted to just keep this secret to myself and just be happy, like so happy that I've been able to, find this answer for me. But as I started telling my story, you can go back in my social media. I started about July of 2019, started sharing this. I have had hundreds of people reach out to me and ask for help. And I remember how miserable that was. I remember how horrible that feeling was of knowing what to do and not being able to do it. And what I found is that this really works, and that I can really help people. And so I'm going to just keep doing it. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep sharing my story. And if you are sick of the hamster wheel, if you are just miserable and you're done with failing, you're done with starting and failing and starting and failing, then if you're really serious about this, email me. Don't send me a message. I mean, you can send me a message on social media, but I get so many messages that it's hard for me to keep up with them. But if you're serious, then email me at innerclaritysystem@gmail.com. And I'll walk you through what it looks like to work with me. You know, I go through this all the time with my situation, and I am still to this day baffled, because you don't get over bipolar disorder. You don't get over multiple sclerosis. But now it's been years since I've had symptoms. Now that I've been able to do it without medication, is just baffling. And I've been able to maintain stability. And not just maintain stability in a perfect little cookie cutter world. I've had some pretty tragic things happen to me. I had a horrible tragedy happen to me in March of 2020, and personally in my family, that would have leveled me. And I would say would have leveled pretty much anybody, would have definitely rocked them. But I didn't even have a bad day. I was able to stay functioning. I was able to stay clear. I was able to stay steady and at peace. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be great? Right now, chaos is unleashing in our world, not just our country, in our world. Wouldn't it be great to go through any storm and to have peace, to have inner clarity, to know where you're at and what you're supposed to do, to connect to those instructions that are inside of you? Please reach out to me. Please let me help you. Please let me show you what I've learned. Because it's not about me, it's about you. And that's where the answers are. And I want you to know that you're not broken. You're brilliant. Let me show you how brilliant you are. Thanks. Talk to you later.